Hey, what's up? Good evening, everybody. This is Steve from Vespa Motorsport, also known as Scooter West. I'm with Master Technician Robot. A big shout out and thanks for this evening's tech sponsor, Arby's, serving up the best quality roast beef sandwiches nationwide for the last 60 years running. Big shout out to our friends over at Point Loma Arby's 29852 for providing the quality roast beef sandwiches for the strength and nourishment to make us survive and get through tonight. If there's two things all of us Americans can unite on, it's our love for Arby's one and our love for Vespa second. So you know at Scooter West, we are Vespa nuts. We developed a ton of unique accessories, a lot of them electrical ones, in good part to the R&D that Robot puts in. But in order to do a lot of these electrical upgrades on the large frame Vespas, you need to be able to remove the horn cover, the headset cover, and the glove box. Robot's going to go step by step and show us the process for that. But real quick, you know, we're going to show removing this stuff for upgrading like certain things like our LED turn signal kits, you know, hot grips, heated grips. What else, Robot?
You got the various horns. You got the 136 horn. That's a little simpler to install. The air horn that will just freeway blast whoever you want off the road.
HID kit, LED dash lights. A lot of stuff where you actually need to be able to gain access to the electrical components behind the horn cover, glove box, and headset cover. And when we mention large frame bikes, that includes, you know, the Vespa GT 125, the Vespa GT 200. It also includes the GTS series. So there's the GTS 125, the GTS 250, the GTS 300. It also includes the Super. There's the Super 125, the Super 250, the Super 300. And then there's also the GTV 250 and the GTV 300. Obviously the GTV has a little bit different configuration up on the handlebars, but the glove box and such is actually the exact same and identical. So before we start going through Robot step-by-step, you know, removal process, he's gonna do a quick little overview of all the tools that are used. So what are we gonna use to do this, Robot?
All right, basic tools out of a typical toolbox. You're gonna need a couple Phillips screwdrivers, a number 2 and a number 1 Phillips. On the earlier models, I would say anything pre-2010, you'll need a number 3 Phillips. And for anything that's the newer scooters, you're going to need a T25 and a T30 Phillips. And you can either get a driver that's similar to this or a bit that goes into some type of driver.
Robot said Phillips, but we're actually the Torx, so the
Torx,
star-shaped looking ones. Torx or Torx.
Yeah. And to take off the some of the wire fasteners, you just need a pair of regular old needle nose. To take off the reservoir covers, the two little covers that the mirrors thread into, you're going to need a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench of some sort and a 17 millimeter wrench to remove the lock nuts for the two mirrors. You're going to want to take off this badge. I already have it popped, but basically you pop a flat-bladed screwdriver in there, push, and then you'll be able to pry that away.
Notice the two alignment tabs there, so you're pushing in on that one, and then that one kind of buries inside the horn cover.
The earlier bikes are going to have a number 2 Phillips. This later bike is going to have the T25 Torx. Go ahead and remove that. You can see that's the coarse threaded style fastener, so keep track of where the fastener comes from. Turn the headset either to the far left or far right, and you go and lift this up. And the tab, the key in, pop that off. Next, to remove the glove box, you want to take these two number 2 Phillips fasteners on the headset. Steve will go over taking off the reservoir covers.
So yeah, in order to get the mirrors off, the easiest way to do it is to actually, because the set nut is buried below the cover, and it's easier to get the cover off with the mirror out of the way, you want to hit this really hard to break that loose. Go ahead and loosen the mirror all the way, take the mirror off, set that off to the side. Once the mirror is off, you're gonna go for that little 2.5 millimeter Allen to take off the reservoir cover here. You notice it's actually a pretty tight little machine screw. These are pretty specific, so you don't want to lose these. But notice it's a nice fine, you know, or a standard coarse machine screw. It's not like a self-tapping one. Now Robot's gonna show you the technique for actually removing these master cylinder covers without breaking them.
Basically, they have 2 tabs under there, and I kind of lift it from the center, and then you kind of rotate, and I'm basically rotating it so the peg will pop out of the slot right here. So again, kind of to put it back in, like that. Now pop it up and rotate, and it pops right out without damaging the tabs there.
And then the final fastener, I don't know if Robot mentioned this or not, but there's a number 2 Phillips that holds the headset covers together from the underside of the headlight there. So you do that very carefully.
Use a magnetic screwdriver. Make sure it keeps the screw from dropping down into the slot. I'm not sure if this one's magnetized at this point. But
that's an important step, Robot. You know, he said to magnetize the tip of that screwdriver if you have that capability in your garage. But it's really easy,
just like that.
What just happened there, where the screw will actually fall down in there. Don't worry about it. It happens all the time on the assembly line. Once we take the floor off, you'll kind of see it down in there. And that's part of the charm. Stuff drops and falls. You just got to keep on going.
You can see these are the 2 shorter fasteners. You'll find a couple different size fasteners when you remove in the glove box. Keep track of where they go.
And that's it for the fasteners from the front side of the bike. We're going to pick up with the fasteners on the back side here momentarily. All right, so here we go. We're going to remove the front headlight cover on this 300 Super. Here we go, Robot.
Two screws. You're going to need a number 1 Phillips, one right here and one on the other side. They're both identical. Remove the screw. Again, having a magnetic screwdriver will be helpful here. And you remove it. You can see there's a small little washer. Make sure the washer stays with the screw. Now that you have the 2 fasteners here and the front fastener in the previous step, you'll be able to pull this away. And in here, you could reach in here and push this tab down, or you could kind of pull from here. And once you do that, you'll be able to release that little tab. You can see the tab right down there. Kind of got my nail down there to push it down. And basically lift up from the center to pop this tab right here. So you got a tab here and one on each side here. Engages.
And those are kind of like a quick little like snap together one. So you never want to pull straight back like Robot said. It's like push those ones down and then pry up from the underside of the headlight up to release this top fastener there to keep from breaking that and from breaking that.
And underneath here you'll expose the connection for the headlight. Pull straight off. It's a 3-pin headlight connection. You could just pull the position light right out. It's a little rubber socket. If you want to disconnect it, you can push the little tab right here and disconnect the bulb.
And then obviously we'll put this on the workbench somewhere safe where it's not going to get scratched or dinged or dropped or broken or anything like that. So that's removing the front headset cover. All right, since we've come this far with it, we're actually going to go ahead and remove the rear headset cover. You don't totally have to do this, but for the sake of the video, it's going to make being able to see everything, you know, a lot better, and it makes the work a lot easier. And since it's so quick and simple, we're going to show that. So what you want to start with is a number 2 Phillips. There's 4 self-tapping screws, a shorter one and a longer one. Which is the shorter, which is the longer? I already forgot.
The longer one's on the top and the shorter one's on the bottom. And make sure you reinstall the correct ones in the right order, otherwise you'll damage this piece here.
So there's the one there, which we again said was the shorter ones.
The longer ones.
So longer ones up top, shorter ones down below, shorter ones down below. So 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side.
You got a zip tie right here retaining the throttle cables. Pull that away. It basically ties it to that bracket that's on the speedometer. Again, a magnetic screwdriver is useful, or magnetized tip on a screwdriver. Here you go, there's a long screw. There you go, magnetized. Saved it from going down into the... And this one's a little more difficult, you got more of the cables in the way.
So as Robot's doing that, we'll show the longer screws, which again are the uppers, and the shorter screws, which are the bottoms. Like Robot said, if you get those mixed up and you run the longer screw in the shorter hole, it'll basically push through and make a perfect little hole on the headset cover, which is not something you really want to do.
So we got that loose right now. You may need to get a needle nose in there, crack the speedometer cable free. Pull that out, and you'll see there's 3 connectors going to this dashboard. The digital dash on the GTS 250 is 1 large connector, and the GT200, I think, I recall, it might be 3 connectors, but it's not necessarily this style. This one's got a tab. Basically push the tab, pop it off. These ones have a tab right here, a little more difficult. Sometimes you need to get a little flat-bladed screwdriver in there. Pop that tab.
But we'll just show, so we're going to basically disconnect all these switches just so we can kind of pull this thing out of the way.
On the left side, we're going to remove the switches. The push button switches have 2 little tabs on the side. Push those. The turn signal connector is going to be a white connector, pull straight out. The high beam, low beam connector is a red one. And on the other side, it's pretty similar, but only 2 of them.
So those pinch together.
I'm not very good at these fucking things.
There you go, Steve, you got it.
I got it.
Congratulations. A couple things you might want to do if you have this part. Oftentimes your clock might be getting kind of dim or might be completely out. Underneath this little access hole, you can take a needle nose and pop that out, and there's a little access to replace the clock battery in there. Again, T25 Torex. Some of them it's a number 2 Phillips. See, it's kind of a blunt screw. Oh wow, there's a burger in there.
Our sponsor, thank you Arby's.
I'm not too hungry for it, sorry.
And then obviously same thing, fastener out, take this one off on the right hand side. That's where your coolant reservoir is. There's actually a factory tool, but this is a tool we sell. Part number is Tool SN. Tool SN, it's actually the tool for the actual steering bearing castellated nut, but it just so happens that these fingers almost perfectly align with the notches on the cap. You got to kind of use both hands, so one hand to hold down, crack it, and you actually have to have this cap off so you can actually do the next step, so you can actually pull the glove box off.
So we got a couple fasteners. You got a number 3 Phillips. On some of the very newest models, they have a T30 Torex on there. 2 Phillips screws right here. These are going to be the shorter ones, the same as the ones we removed from the front. And this one I already have cracked, but it's you can see it's a step shoulder bolt there. And down below here we have 4 fasteners, or 2. This is a shorter fastener, this is a longer one. Again, on this scooter it's a T25 Torex. Long one with a pointed tip. And this one's the shorter one here.
And again, this is a 2013, so lots of Torex fasteners by this time. But a 2011 and older, pretty much most would be Phillips still. Remove the key, and now we're ready to actually lift the glove box off.
Again, if you have the headset rear half off, it's much easier, but it is possible to remove the glove box with the rear of the headset still attached. So you see the front, the top kind of pulled away, and basically you kind of want to lift. It's a lot harder when you do have the rear headset. And you'll see there's a couple cables connecting.
Hold on a sec, let's let Vu come around. Cameron, come around, we'll keep rolling.
You got a fuse holder, you got the alarm interface connector that some of our accessories hook to. The fuse holder is a little tricky to get out. There's a single tab in the middle. Kind of want to pull up on this little thing here and pull the fuse holder straight out. Take care not to damage that little tab. A little connector for the seat release button. That's all your electrical connections. Now on here, sometimes they have this cable retained into a little bracket like this. This model does not, but I'll show you on the inside. We need to disconnect the cable. And you can see I'm gonna grab, I kind of pulled the lever back. I'm gonna grab the cable and pull it right out of the little slot right there. And this one's brand new, so it's a little more difficult here. There we go. Pop that little thing out, and you can pull the actual cable out. Now that the glove box should pull right away from the body.
And you'll notice down here, it's a good idea to actually put a couple either microfiber or shop rags on the floor to kind of protect the thing from scratching. It's a good habit to get into. And then as soon as you actually have the glove box off, it's a good habit to take that coolant cap and thread it back on there just to, you know, keep anything from falling in the coolant reservoir. I think that's pretty much it, right, Robot? That's removing the glove box, and we're ready to kind of play around and gain access to stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's about it. There's one other little tip when you put the glove box back together. You can see they put a rubber band between this here. They wrapped a rubber band like 4 times around this little tab here, and that's the actuator that pops the glove box. There's 2 ways to do it. Either put the rubber band back. Obviously, after a year or so, that rubber band kind of just rots away. Or the other way is when you reinstall the glove box, you want to push this tab here, and as you're installing the glove box, keep pressure on that to keep the tab. Otherwise, this little lever will be on this side and the glove box won't open. All right, some of the things you'll find behind the glove box. Liquid cooled bike, so there's actually 2 radiators. Left radiator's got a fan on it. You see some of the hoses that route to the coolant reserve tank and to the back of the scooter where the frame is. You have all the routing of the cables that go up to the headset. You know, take note if you ever remove move these cables, take note the order that they all go through. On any of the ones that have the analog speedometer, you're gonna have a turn signal flasher. The one with the digital speedometer on the 250, it's built into the dash. This is your decoder ring for the immobilizer system.
So that decoder ring, that brings the signal from the chip key down to the CDI.
That's correct, yep. And you can see there's a connector back there. Behind here is a voltage regulator. Not a very fun job to change. Fortunately, you don't need to change them often. Turn signals, gain access to the bulbs. Bulbs just quarter turn out. Again, you need to remove these if you're gonna put our running light kit that we sell.
And you said something about the regulator, how it's not a very fun job to replace, and why is that? Do you have to actually pull the radiators to gain access to the fasteners?
Yeah, you kind of loosen the radiator so you can kind of pull this flat back, and it's actually attached to the upper scoop of the radiator there. And the factory horn is up here, 2 terminals connecting to it. And behind here is the actual electronic key switch.
Seems like the electronic key switch is from the parts side of things.
Yeah, and
we sell quite a few of those, so that must be semi-prone to failure, I'm not sure.
There's a clip that retains that, and you could hear it pop right in. To remove the lock set if you ever need to. If it's unlocked, you're going to be able to get a pick and pop that little clip out, and the whole tumbler and this lock ring will pop right out. And you can see the clip right there. You need to get a small pick to pop that out.
And you said if it's locked, then what?
You're going to need to drill the lock out and take care not to drill into the actual locking cylinder that's back here. If you damage that, you need to drop the fork to replace that part.
And if it were locked, you'd actually have a tough time getting access to the glove box and such too, right?
That's correct, yeah. So that's the ring that pops right off.
You always want to make sure that's seated when you go to reassemble. If that's not seated, then it won't take the signal from the key down to the CDI. Seems like we have a lot of people that have been into their glove box before, and they put the thing back together and the thing won't start. And it's commonly because this thing has fallen off and they didn't notice it, and it's just kind of dangling back there.